Yep, I bought another pair of Red Wings. Said I wouldn't do it, but I did it. Any guesses? Red Wing, authentic Red Wing heritage. So, if you don't know what this is already, actually I'll show you on the box. This is the, what do they call it? I guess they're always model numbers, 4585. It's the Lager boot, you can see. It's kind of a neat little retro sticker. This is the Briar oil slick or something leather, I think they call it. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting pair. Let me kind of get this fixed here. So I said I wouldn't give them another chance, but I decided to do it one more time. I really liked seeing this makeup. Previously, I think it was offered in Munich or Amsterdam or, somewhere in Europe only. They may have offered this in Japan as well too. But the main issue is Red Wing doesn't ever offer the cool makeups for the United States, which is asinine in my opinion, considering this is an American company. But I'm sure they have some bean counter management idiots who think there's a good reason for that. There isn't. I think this will sell well. I would have preferred, I posted the other day about the Oro Legacy. I think there's an old boot. I don't know what the model number is. Someone commented 899 or something, but I looked that up. It didn't show it, but I've seen used pairs on eBay of basically this exact makeup, but with like a kind of a lighter, tan orange color leather. I don't know if it was Oro Legacy back then, but that's a really cool pair. This is okay. I'm hoping with wearing in it would lighten up a little bit. It's a little dark, but I really liked this makeup. I liked the No. 8 Last. I'm a little frustrated by how they've changed it, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I always thought the, kind of the bump toe of the No. 8 was really cool. Years ago, I used to actually have a Beckman, the original Beckman in the Featherstone something leather. It's like a very light tan color. And they were really cool, but after wearing them for like a year, I finally sold them because they're just so damn tight. I've read it's because the vamp on that pair was lined with leather versus like a cloth that my Iron Rangers that I still have were lined in, or are lined in. Same size, they were both 11D, but the Beckman was just way too tight. It was just always painful, and I finally sold that boot years ago. So knowing that, and honestly, when I first got my Iron Ranger, 14, 15 years ago, I remember thinking they were kind of tight, but I've had read and talked to some folks online. Voltaine, if you've seen him, some of the comments on my videos, he was the one who talked about it a bit, but they definitely changed this last. I had this up next to my Iron Rangers, and I'll do a more in-depth, maybe a video comparing the two, but it's definitely not the same shape. They've tightened this last up. It used to be a lot wider in the ball and bigger, but the sizing seems a little bit different. But anyway, if you saw the box, I went with 11.5D to go kind of true to Brannick. I've read others have done similar stuff, but I guess it was all caused by that used Iron Ranger I bought off eBay. I've done a video or short about it or something where I got that in 11D, and it was like significantly smaller than my old Iron Ranger in 11D, and it was super tight, and it was unwearable. I had to return it to the seller, and I kind of thought, man, they completely changed the sizing on it. Well, maybe it's not as huge as I thought, but either way, that pair was way too tight in 11, and that was a more recent production Iron Ranger. So I could only assume, this being a No. 8 Last, just like the Iron Ranger, that this would have been too tight in 11, so that's why I went 11.5. But it's kind of weird because comparing it against my Iron Ranger, the length itself is like the same or slightly, maybe just ever so slightly longer, which I guess it should be because this is 11.5 and my Iron Ranger is 11. But, I guess it's slightly bigger than I thought. I actually was worried this might be not even big enough and I would need a 12. I definitely don't need a 12. But it's a weird fit. I tried them both on, and they're very, very snug in the ball. My toe it's not painful, but it's definitely being pressed here. But then I have plenty of room for the big toe because of the extra length and the Munson-ish. You could see the Munson. It's kind of Munson shaped. I honestly think this newer number 8 is more Munson shaped than my old number 8 Iron Ranger. But yeah, the one issue I have is when I lace them up tight, even with I was wearing one with a boot sock, because that was another thing too. I have to wear my old Iron Ranger, or did for the longest time, with like a thinner sock because it was so tight. With a boot sock, this is kind of a really tight facing, and I think that looks weird. Like, to me, they should be this wide or wider when they're laced up. And it's silly because you look at all like the press photos and stuff, or the marketing, and the guys never tie up their Red Wings tight. They're like, the facings are like super far apart, and the laces are all loose. It's like they're wearing them like loose Timberlands, like, that whole like hip hop look. But someone who wants to wear their boots properly so that they're nice and snug, these facings get really close, possibly closer than even my Alden 405s, which I think are supposed to have close facings. I just think this looks strange with the facings like that. This is when they're laced tight, they're kind of like like maybe a ½ inch. It just seems, they're not touching obviously, but it seems wrong. And in my old Iron Ranger, there's like 1.5 inches or something, a lot more space between the facings. I kind of think their pattern is screwy, and it could be, bad luck on my part, where maybe in the 11.5 they used the pattern of the quarters for the 12 or something. So like this one size is maybe a little bit funky, but I don't know. I was debating, should I try buying an 11 as well and then return the one that doesn't fit well. But trying these on, like, I don't know. I feel like going to the 11, they wouldn't work. They would be too tight. As it is, they're very tight in the midfoot. But I remember my Iron Ranger was the same way from 15 years ago. But this is definitely not the same shape. They've definitely done something to this number 8 Last. I'm not sure exactly what. Some other oddities. So, this is Red Wings typical kind of poor quality control. But this is not a big deal. But this rolled top, whatever leather they used, or if it's leather, it's really thin and they wore it out. So you can see it's basically scratched up all along the back. So you can see kind of the undertone. And then like they didn't stitch this. This isn't stitched properly at all. Like it's lifting up. Like that's kind of, is that coming out well? That's kind of shit. There's little scuffs here and there, but this is one of these leathers that's super sensitive to that, so I'm not too surprised. It kind of makes me think of Predator Orange. That leather, you just sneeze at it and it's has scuffs. The other boot, this is kind of funny. They throw in, this is like the Red Wing thing. They throw in the little tag, the quality assurance. So Megan, I guess, checked those out and, thought that was good. This is weird. And it's only, there's a little bit in the lugs, but look at this. It's like they forgot to clean it after they sanded it, which they didn't sand it very good. There's like a ton of rubber dust just piled up right there. Can't they just brush it off real quickly before they throw it in the box? These heels seem kind of a little crazy wide. I know it's a 360 welt instead of the 270 like my Iron Ranger, but they're symmetric. They're the same at least. The width is about the same on both, but this seems like it flares out a ton. It's a little peculiar. And then I didn't expect this. Not that I really care either way, but it almost looks like it has like two. It's like a. I don't know if that's leather, that midsole. So the top light leather is obviously the welt. The next layer down, that's a darker brown. I would suspect it's supposed to be leather. I hope it is leather. I'm not sure. But if you look closely, then there's another black layer, like a slip sole, before the Vibram unit. You could see there's two different layers of black there. That's kind of interesting. And then I noticed it because they did a poor job on the sanding, and you can kind of see some skipping or whatever. I don't know. I mean, this was the most expensive Red Wing I've ever bought. These were 370 or 390, either one. You know, I bought those Iron Rangers a long time ago, much less than that. And the Beckmans, I think I bought those off eBay, new or something. I don't know, but you know. And then the nail seat I bought last year, I think, or earlier this year, and returned immediately because they're garbage. I would say this is definitely the best QC of any Red Wing I've bought. Like, look at the welt joint. While that's not amazing, like, that's pretty good for Red Wing. Like, that's similar to Allen Edmonds. They definitely overlap the welt stitch there, but it ain't bad. Sanding's not horrible. I wish they brushed off all the rubber sanding stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I wish the fit was a little bit better, but I'm really nervous that if I went to an 11, it would be too tight, just like the other Iron Ranger in 11 that I bought used and had to send back. Construction, you know, it's fine. The heel counter is pretty solid. I'm not sure what they use, but it's definitely pretty beefy. Gotta love that. This is kind of a rarity, I think. An 8-inch single piece backstay. I know in the PNW space, at least like the Nix whites, you can't get something like that. They limit the single piece if they even offer it to like a 6-inch boot. Maybe 7, I don't think so, but definitely not 8. Maybe Frank's would do it because they're always about custom, but this is not common. I think it looks pretty cool. I always like the single piece backstay of the Iron Ranger, and then I like how they do the round. This was something I think Nix used to do, but they stopped. Red Wing's always done it on the Iron Ranger. I think that round stitching is really nice. It looks way better than when they square it off. They got the Puritan stitch, the triple, you know, the 2 black and the 1 white in the middle. That's kind of a signature Red Wing. I mean, they're pretty cool. I gotta put them on, maybe try them with a thicker sock or something. But I already, like I said, I put them on with a boot sock. And, you know, the length, everything feels fine, even though they seem like they're a little long. But it's that facing is bothering me. And then I wonder, you know, should I put an insole in it? But that's kind of defeats the purpose. This is a boot with the, you know, Red Wing gives you that veg tan footbed that you're supposed to break in and get to the save your foot, which is what I did in my Iron Ranger. I guess I'm not blown away by this pair, just because I guess the sizing is funky. I'm not sure I have the appetite to buy another one in 11 just to be 100% sure, even though I did buy it from Huckberry, by the way. They give you like a little postcard thing. It's kind of interesting, isn't that the New Balance logo? Did they steal that? I feel like that reminds me of New Balance. It's kind of cool. But their returns, they say, are free. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll try it. They have it, they were like really out of stock after I bought these, and then now they have more stock. So that makes me worry that people return boots, and that's why they've stocked up. But it's possible they got on their shipment. And then I did see Red Wing themselves, their website has some of these in stock now, and I swear they didn't like a week ago. Yeah, it's a kind of a bummer. I think if the fit had been kind of more, the space, I should say, that if the facing looked the same as my Iron Ranger, I think I would have been happy with this fit and not questioned anything, because it doesn't feel big. It's just they seem a little long because they're tight. They're snug, I should say. Not tight. They're snug all around. And I'm not feeling any toe push, which, you know, that's kind of always my goal. But then it's like, so I'm like, oh, the fit's perfect, you know, as far as comfort. I'm like, this is good. It's a good snug. And then I lace them up, and it's like, oh, the facings are really close. Are these too big? You know, That's kind of lame. What do you think? Should I just return them? Should I get the 11 just to be, OCD sure that this is the better size? Should I just not even worry about the close facing? I've seen some guys in the boot space who actually prefer the close facing. Like they go for that. I don't, but what do you think? I don't know. This feels like it's too big. I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe this pattern seems screwy. I don't know. Something about it seems wrong. But it could be just they can't have one pattern for every single size, so they have to compromise, and I'm in that bad zone or something. Anyway, that's it. Later.